Despite an alleged 61% failure rate on the Rubicon Primaris, yet another named character has made the leap into being slightly bigger with a few more organs. This time, it's Dante of the Blood Angels. Before we get into this proper, this video is sponsored by Dungeons & Lasers 5, The World of Deus Lair. We'll be hearing more from them a little bit later, but before we have a look at Dante's model, I just want to put it out there, right? I think this is the meanest of the crossing of the Rubicon, because surely if any Space Marine has earned the right to retire and live the rest of his life out peacefully on some sort of, you know, idyllic agro world far from... well, as far from threats as you can possibly get in the Imperium, which isn't actually all that far. Surely if anyone is deserved a bit of time off, it's got to be Dante, right? It's got to be. This is a Space Marine who is like over 1,000 years old. I mean, surely at this point you've got to give the lad some time off. He must be absolutely knackered. I mean, all of the incredible rejuvenate treatments and everything that goes into being a Space Marine, I don't know that that can combat being alive for that long. And I feel like surely if there's one Space Marine that they could have gone, you know what, we're not gonna stuff you full of new organs. Here's a nice retirement community. We've got a nice spa downstairs. We've also got a nice like gladiatorial combat pit, so you can still have some fights if you want. But you rest up. You take it easy. No. He's having more stuff stuffed into him, and he's being stuffed into some fancy Mark X power armor. That's what's happened to Dante, and he's going to like it, except he probably won't, because I think he's been miserable for like the last 500 years. But you've got to get out there, son. You've got to get out there, and you've got to do your duty that you've already been doing for ages. This is the lad himself, and you know what? I think mostly I'm okay with this one. I'm alright with it. I think it looks pretty good. The only thing I'm not a fan of is the helmet. The helmet looks weird. I think it's because the face looks too small for the rest of the head. And I don't remember that being an issue with the old helmet, so I think it's got to be something that's up with the new one. But that aside, everything else is pretty damn faithful to what he had before. The armour is really nicely sculpted to show him being a fine figure of a man. I also really like the fact that the old figure was painted with kind of like non-metallic metal stylings, and that's what they've done for this. So they've kept the same style for this Dante as well in the kind of like promo piece, which is only a small thing, but I like that they've done it. It keeps it very coherent with the older version. The axe is pretty much exactly the same, just a bit bigger and with a longer handle because he is now a chunkier, beefier boy. He has more girth to him than he used to. The Iron Halo's been reimagined by the look of things as well. It's got some nice kind of curvy sun parts on it, which I like that a lot. They have, of course, kept the jetpack. Frankly, there would have been riots in the street if they'd taken that away, so I'm glad that that's still there. I'm pretty sure his melter pistol is pretty much the same as well. It's maybe been upgraded slightly. There used to be a cable attached to it on the older version, so I think it's just that little bit updated. The pose isn't too bad either. The pose I'm okay with. Again, it's fairly reminiscent of the older version. They've kept pretty true to it. And yes, he is kind of standing on a rock, but at least it's a carved rock. At least it's a ruin rock and not just a natural rock. That's something. I do like the way that the cloth and the purity seals kind of tell a bit of a story of motion there as well. Like, it looks like they're all consistent with him landing on that bit of scenery. Why you'd land on it, I don't know, because it's incredibly uneven, but you know what? He needs to look heroic, and that's how they've chosen to do it, so fine. At least all the cloth and stuff matches the motion. That's good. Now, before we get into multiple angles, we're going to have a chat about Dungeons & Lasers 5 World of Deus Lair. Dungeons & Lasers 5 World of Deus Lair is the latest offering from Archon Studio, and it's going to be launching on Kickstarter on the 11th of April 2023. Dungeons & Lasers make some of the best scenery and miniatures for D&D or tabletop RPGs in general, and I should know because I have a lot of it at this stage. But for this Kickstarter, this time round, they are going one step further and providing an entire 5th edition compatible campaign. World of Deus Lair is a supplement not just for GMs but for players as well, and the Kickstarter campaign features 400 plus high quality plastic miniatures that work out to less than $1 per model, all of which come from a setting with its own unique races, along with a complete bestiary and a dedicated RPG campaign book. If you're thinking to yourself, but I've already got my own campaign, I've already got my own setting, don't worry, it's been designed so that you can fold it into your own settings. Dungeons & Lasers 5 World of Deus launches on Kickstarter on the 11th of April. In the meantime, use the link in the description and the pinned comment to be notified when the project goes live. Thank you very much to Dungeons & Lasers 5 for sponsoring the video. Let's get back to it. Interestingly, I'd totally forgotten that Dante had been promoted to Lord Regent of Imperium Nihilus because the guy has not had enough stress for the last few hundred years as it is. Here you go. This place is an absolute mess. It's an absolute hellhole. You're in charge. Let's go. Anyway, I'm liking the updated jetpack. That's quite cool. I like the style of that, actually. It feels like a nice mix of old and new. Like it's been kind of... They've just taken the old one, they've improved on it. Like, I like that a lot. It's nothing too crazy. It fits super well. It's not overly complex. It doesn't feel like it's been... like massively primarisified. It just feels like it's been improved a little bit, which I think in the back of my mind I was worried that it would be covered in like a bunch of like extra little wings, or there'd be some sort of like central third burner or something in the middle from when we look at the front angle, and they haven't done any of that. They've kept it pretty damn clean, and keeping it clean when the rest of the armor is as ornate as it is, I think that's the right call. That's the move. Dante is already a pretty complex model, right? There's a lot going on. There's a lot of musculature, there's a lot of different angles. It kind of goes from like harsh lines to quite soft lines fairly frequently. There is quite a lot to take in. It's very detailed. The shoulder pads do have a bit of ornamentation on them, but they're not massively busy. They're not like really over the top, which I think, again, is really important and works really well, because his helmet is like quite complicated and quite over the top. And so if you have like too much detail packed into one space, it just ends up looking cluttered and busy. This doesn't look like that though, so I think they've done the right thing there. I don't know what his helmet is reminding me of, but there's just something about it that's really bugging me and I can't really work out why. Oh no, wait, no, I know what it's reminding me of, and I cannot remember the name of the item. It's the glintstone crown. The glintstone crown, the one that's part of the Raya Lucarian sorcerer set in Elden Ring. That's what the helmet's reminding me of. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not, to be honest. Oh, that's a nice comparison there. That is a nice comparison. I only wish they had brought the base of the new version down to be level with the old version, so that we had like a direct like, you know, so they're on the same level. But you know what? That's still a good comparison. The pose is not really that dissimilar. The equipment is the same, which they have pointed out, like it's just been upgraded and modified to suit his new, girthier form. Looking at the two of them, I now don't know whether I prefer the old helmet or the new one. I'm not really sure. For me, the Death Mask of Sanguinius is one of those things where it's a really cool concept. I really like the idea of it, but I've never personally liked the look of it all that much. It's like, it's super important for the Blood Angels. Like, it's super important. The Death Mask of Sanguinius is a big deal. I'm not going to pretend that it should be got rid of. But I don't know that I've ever really liked the look of them, to be honest with you. But it's one of those things that, like, if I ever did Blood Angels, I would still like, use it. I wouldn't just, like, replace the helmets on, like, the Sanguinary Guard or something with just something random, because they need to have those. They are important to that army. But it's never something it's just never worked for me, you know? That being said, I think the overall detail on the new helmet is obviously a lot better. The implementation of the mask is... I don't know if I like it as much, but then things like the inclusion of the hair makes a big difference. I think that adds a lot of texture to it and makes it look kind of more interesting overall. And I definitely prefer the new Iron Halo. I definitely prefer that. I think it looks way better. Overall, I think this is a good update. They've done a decent job here. They really have. Another well thought out, classy upgrade. Of course, I know there'll be those of you who are upset that Dante is no longer Firstborn, but then again, I think this is a decent update. Thank you once again to Dungeons & Lasers 5 for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check them out using the link in the description. It's the preview page currently. They need your feedback, so make sure to go and give it. What do you reckon of the new Dante? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, video, Patreon, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games, which you can use to support the channel if you'd like. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.